Well, good evening. This is Charles Patton. I am here representing Tacts, the Association of Clinical Trial Services. I am the People's Counselor, your PC. I am sitting in for Sister Yah Simpson, the community epidemiologist, who will hopefully be here shortly. And thank you all for tuning in. This is a call-in live show, so if you have any questions or any comments, please call us at 312-738-1060. Now, once again, I want to talk a little bit about Tacts and what we stand for. We are the pushers of what we call health equities. Now, we talk about this pretty much every show because we want to make sure that we reiterate and truly try to drive this particular topic home, because we know that health equities is a very important part, particularly for our community. And we already discussed what health equities is, but I'm going to go over it again, because health equities is not health equality. Equality means that we get everything, everybody get the same thing across the board. And that may not be what you need. Health equity means that you are getting what you need. And that's what we want to advocate for. Hopefully everybody took an opportunity yesterday to go out and exercise their voice to vote in this preliminary election, so that we can see, or at least have a voice in trying to select some people that will be working in our best interest. I know we had runoff for the governor in this primary election, or this pre-election. And we also had the Attorney General, which I heard was a pretty big office. So hopefully, and once again, I got to say this is important, because this is truly a part of our community health, that we have to make sure that we push people to advocate for our best interests in our communities. Because first and foremost, we are responsible, let me say that, for the things that we do when it comes to taking care of us. But then we also have, the next level is our families. Then we have our neighborhoods. Then we have our communities. And then we have our nation. So truly, we have to make sure that when we go to these elections, or we have these opportunities to make some selections of people that's supposed to be representing us, that we do our due diligence, and that we make sure that we make the best selections possible, so that we can go in and make sure that those people that's in office is working on our best interest. We know that there's been some issues around this managed care situation, where we've been having some things. People are not getting the services that they need, or they're being limited in some kind of way. As I stated earlier, I am a counselor by trade, the People's Counselor, and I work in a substance abuse agency, and I have been experiencing this firsthand, where we have been relegated by some of these, MCOs, if you will, insurance companies, to tell us what they are going to authorize for a client, not based on what the assessment is, and not based on what the history dictates, but based on what they feel they want to pay for. We have a 7-day detox program for opiates, and if y'all haven't heard, we are in the midst of an opiate epidemic, right? And basically what that means is that it's a lot of people out here being affected by some of these painkillers or pain medications, and subsequently, once they can't get the pain medication, then they go to some of the street drugs, particularly heroin, or they're buying methadone off the street, or some of these other drugs, to kind of satisfy that disease. So, with that being said, we have to make sure that when we are addressing these issues, or we hear about these issues, that we make sure that we talk to people. We talk to our legislators, we talk to our alderpersons, we talk to the clergy and other people that's supposed to be in roles of leadership or influence in our communities, to make sure that we get those things put in place. All right. So once again, we are talking about Tacts, and with this particular piece here, we are talking about with diversity comes a cure. Increase diversity in clinical trials. Now, we know that a lot of us, particularly people of color, don't necessarily like or partake in clinical trials. It's imperative that we learn the importance of how to get involved, and be willing to take some of those chances so that we can learn what works best for us. Right now, a lot of the treatments that's being provided for some of our conditions was tested on other folk, and subsequently when we go in and we get a prescription or we get a diagnosis, then they are using treatments that not necessarily been effective for people of color, knowing that we have some metabolization differences when it comes to certain medications, certain chemicals, particularly with the melanin in our bodies and the way we interact, let's say with sodium. That's why we see that there's a lot of hypertension in people of color, so when we get these medications, they don't necessarily work for us like they do other ethnic groups because we haven't taken the time or made a decision to get involved in these trials to see what works. So I would implore you, I know we talk about I don't want to be a guinea pig and I don't want to be a test subject, but at some point we're going to have to be willing to get involved in the process so that we can have some effective solutions and some effective choices that will work for us. I personally have had some experiences where I've been on certain things that just didn't work. And fortunately, I had enough fortitude and wherewithal in questioning things that I was able to get some adjustments. Is it working now? I'm doing better. But the reality of it is, had I not had the information, had I not question some of the physicians and doctors and people that have this so-called degrees, then I would probably not fare so well. But I know some people who have transitioned because they didn't have the fortitude or the wherewithal to ask certain questions and to push these professionals or doctors to do things, get the appropriate tests, because as I stated before, this is all relegated to if you got insurance or how much insurance you got and what they willing to pay for. So truly, we have to make sure that we push them to do the things that we need done. That's health equity. That's making sure that we get what we need and not what they want to give us. Now, is there going to be some pushback? Of course there is. But I'm willing to fight for my life. Are you willing to fight for yours? So that's the question. So when we start talking about, once again, this health equity paradigm, and I want to show it to you once again so that everybody will be up to speed. This particular diagram shows exactly what health equities is. It shows exactly, if you look at the paradigm, we got one gentleman with one box, or at least we got everybody with one box. That's equality, right? Now, the shortest person in this particular paradigm can't see the game because the one box wasn't adequate for him, okay? So what we have to look at is the next paradigm when you say equity. That means the taller person, he don't need a box, so he don't get a box. The next person get one box and the last person get two boxes. That's health equity. You're getting what you need. And hopefully that makes sense. Once again, this is a call-in live show. So if you have any questions, comments, suggestions on how we can get this done, then please give us a call and let us know what your thoughts are. Okay? We also know that there's been some things going on in the community with violence. That's another one of those scourges of the community that we need to address. And it's not just about people with guns. It's about people with lack of access. It's about people who are not getting the basic needs, so they are doing some of any and everything to get them. And of course, once again, we got to factor in some substance abuse and maybe some mental illness, that may be a part of that process. Because I know what I've been experiencing in the profession that I'm in is that some of the substance abuse and mental illness overlap. It's a question of what comes first, the chicken or the egg. So we have to make sure that we start to talk about all these particular issues, and knowing that violence is just a symptom of some of the other things that's not being addressed in our community. If you look around and you see that most of the economic or the businesses are drying up, closing up. I done went into some areas, particularly if you look at 75th Street, somewhere right past Jeffrey going east. It's like every building is boarded up. When you go into Inglewood, there are certain areas that you can drive down the block, and every house or every other house is boarded up. Those are breeding grounds for certain criminality. It also lets us know that there's a lot of people that's been displaced, and are not having, or not, like I say, getting their basic needs. So there are some things that we must do in order to make this right. And that requires us getting involved in the process. That requires us asking the right questions. That requires us talking to the right people and making sure that we exercise whatever voice we have when it comes election time, because the next big election, the primary election, is going to be, or the general election is going to be in November. So I want to make sure that you guys get involved in that process. And once again, I want to thank you. And we are going to transition out. One moment. And I want to talk a little bit about the website. So our community epidemiologist is going to talk about our new website for Tacts. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. I am so glad to be on with you all for this particular evening. We've got a lot going on. I want to make sure that you see this wonderful website is with Tacts, the Association of Clinical Trial Services. This is the launching of our new website. I am so happy that you get to see this, because this has been a work in progress for over a year. Yes. My name is Ya Simpson, aka Sister Ya. I am the community epidemiologist for Tacts, the Association of Clinical Trial Services. And what we'd like to do for you is tell you, what is Tacts all about? As you saw a little bit of the website, you noticed that we have got our motto, which is bringing science to the people. Now, one of the things we know is we've done several events, and one of the things we've been on was the Women's Health Social. And with the Women's Health Social, we do a special honoring. As you can see, I don't know if you see that picture, the picture of the lady in the red. This picture is of Henrietta Lacks. If you don't know who she is a person who was a righteous contributor to the healthcare industry. It is her cells, as you saw in the movie Immortal Cells, or the book rather, by Miss Schutz. Rebecca Schutz wrote a book called Immortal Cells, and in that book they talked about what it happened and what it took, unfortunately, taking away. She had what we call today human papillomavirus virus, HPV, and they had to take away the cells in her body to study them. Well, nobody complained about her cells being grafted away from her body to study it. The problem was, one, they didn't really ask her, and two, they benefited tremendously from her cells, because her cells still live to this very day. Her cells has gone to space and back. It has been instrumental in what we know as vaccine usage and treatment, specifically the polio vaccine. It has been used in AIDS, or what we call HIV treatment medications. It has been used in several other applications around the world and healthcare industries and other companies, and they never paid her a dime. but she is our righteous contributor. And because of that and her family, we were able to start this particular women's social adaptation to say that you are a righteous contributor. So our Women's Health Networking Social is what we call the Righteous Contributor Award, and there's no more hidden figures, you all. We've had several people to have been a part of our group. As you can see, the women that have contributed, I don't want to highlight everybody, but I want you to notice, like Miss Hilda Fontre. She is a Puerto Rican woman who has been given great honor nationally, internationally, obviously from Puerto Rico, but here in the United States. The women that we have honored have been as young as 25 to eldership as old as 70 years old. We honor that women can be highlighted and showcased who have that enormous amount of time span between them. But this is what Tacts does, honey. We bring the science to the people. We connect women and we network. And so I wanted you to be able to see some of the ladies we've honored over time. And yes, being specific, there are women of color, Black women, Latinas, and we do introduce transgendered women as well. So we are inclusive in that aspect of being women of color, and this is what Tacts gets into. I just want to read to you a little bit. You can't really see it, but I just want you to know that Tacts, the Association of Clinical Trial Services, we are a non-for-profit agency, and that's why we're here on air, and we are designed to provide prevention, intervention, and education and awareness for people who are impacted and infected by health ailments. Now, health ailments as it relates to evidence-based clinical trials and community research, that is what we specialized in. We are a Black, we are a woman, we are a veteran organizations. Our board members are expansive and extremely knowledgeable, and we're interested in collaborating with other organizations on issues surrounding health equity and social justice. Because of that, that's why we're here on CAN TV, right? We are in partnership and we support CAN TV and what they do for making sure that community voices are heard on a platform that we otherwise probably could not afford, or it would not have the type of access we have now here on a call-in live show that we do once a month, every third Wednesday. So Tacts is grateful to be a supporter, but that is our mission, and that is what we'd like to talk about here on CAN TV for today. I want you to be able to see this website. Again, you would be able to go through it and read the mission for yourself. And now I'd like to just offer, I don't know if you can really see the quote because of the white font in back. We'll fix that. And, this is always a work in progress. But if you can't see it, I'll read it. It says, "A tree with no roots bear no fruits," meaning we must build on past advances in order to yield better future in healthcare. That is what we are about. We are building on what we have started. Tacts, the Association of Clinical Trial Services, has been incorporated since 2007. 10 years later, you all, and we have this wonderful website. We're so proud and happy and elated of all the support that we have received. Some of the things that we do with Tacts is we promote the science and the research of biomedical and medical and clinical literacy. Sometimes people don't understand the clinical concepts of clinical trials and the methodologies. That's what I specialize in. Sometimes people don't understand basic health literacy. That's what our team specializes in, and that's what we provide to the community as a service. We work with all industry. We work with medical and clinical. We work with private as well as universities. We've got great support today from Northwest and the Center for AIDS Research, who has now bought into and helped to promote Tacts. We received a nice grant funding from them, and we're proud because we just got it today, y'all. I'm so happy to make that announcement. This is what Tacts has been about. And we do this more specifically addressing barriers. We are talking about barriers to people who are not receiving quality and access to health care, especially among the marginalized populations here in Chicago and nationwide, definitely. But we talk about this through the health equity and the social justice lens, if you will. That is part of our initiative, and that's what we have put here on our website. Now, you can't see all of this because, we recognize that this is online, but what we want to do is make sure that we are providing the type of context that people need. So here it says create and conduct epidemiological profiles using a mixed method approach. So I'm not going to get into what actually a mixed method approach is, but for those scientists and researchers, you already know. One of our specialties within that approach is the methodology of community-based participatory research. You know that is a step-by-step method which brings in all players and tries to make the steps of what is our hypothesis, how we're going to evaluate, how we're going to implement, and then of course how we move through the actual action and then reevaluate the whole system again. So I know people were like, wait a minute, she said evaluate is the second one. Intentional. Because most people don't realize you don't wait to evaluate your program. You put up the parameters and the measures first so you know what it is that you want to achieve. And it's a word that we use. We call hawamunda. Hawamunda means, and I know people... Okay, Hawamunda means that you are a measuring rod. You must know your baseline to then when you get to your finish line or maybe your midway point, but you won't know how you moved if you didn't measure it. So when I said evaluation is the second point, I was being intentional because we must first do our hypothesis or our mission or what it is that we're trying to achieve, then figure out how to measure it, then our methodologies, you implement the program, and then you you talk about the results, give a conclusion, and then evaluate the whole process all over again. That is what we specialize in providing that for people that are in the community on various research topics. And I'm just very elated we are able to put some of those analytic concepts here on our website. You'll be able to go see that. But I also want people to know that we have a very big interest in conducting and making sure that we're working with, we're calling community health workers. That's there right on the page. So the one reason that we're talking about these things is because community health workers is another initiative that Tacts would like to take on. Real quickly, I got to wrap up, but I want you all to see this website when you get a chance. Go through it and see all our board members. You already saw Mr. Charles Patton, our board vice president of Tacts and our community counselor. Thank you all so much for seeing us, knowing that our website, and as you can see, who's that? What's that little eye you see right there? That's CAN TV. We made sure to make an announcement about being with them and continuing to work with them as we do on CAN TV Call In Live. I am Sister Ya, and I am proud to be a part of CAN TV Live show with Tacts, the Association of Clinical Trial Services. Thank you.